and welcome back to Travel in Chinese. I'm Mark Rosewell, also known as Dashan. In our series, we're looking at situations that are common for many travelers in China, or for foreign nationals who are living in China for any length of time. Of course, the vocabulary and grammatical patterns that we're learning in these situations can be used in a wide variety of situations. Now, some of our viewers are just beginners, others are quite advanced, but no matter what your level of Chinese is, I'm sure you'll be able to pick up something from our lesson. And don't worry if you don't understand everything the first time through. There'll be lots of opportunities to review. Now let's take a look at today's dialogue.
哎，
怎么飞不起来啊？
哎，你放点线，快跑，再放线，对，跑，往这边跑，对。
还是不行。
哎呀，现在啊风太小了，等一会儿有风的时候我们再放吧。
没想到风筝竟然这么难放。
哈，别泄气嘛，一会儿啊我们再试试啊。
爸爸，我渴了。
哦，爸给你买水去啊。哎，我钱包呢？
你刚才买风筝的时候还用来着呢。
对呀，我明明记得钱包就放到这个口袋里，可现在怎么没有了？
会不会是我们刚才跑来跑去跑丢了？
哦，有可能。哎，可你说不会呀？
我们顺着找找吧。
走。小杰啊，甭在这里找了，估计啊没丢在这儿。
爸爸，我们干脆去报案吧，把你的手机给我，我来拨911。
哈，小杰啊，在中国呀，不是拨911，应该是拨110。不过现在在公园里，我们呀找保安就行了。
哎，爸爸，那儿正好有个保安，我们快点去吧。
走。哎，你好，
请问你们有什么事情？
我们在那边放风筝，也就1刻钟吧，就发现钱包不见了。
放风筝的时候钱包还在吗？
一直放风筝来着，没怎么注意。哎，不过呀，买风筝的时候啊，钱包还在呢。
在哪儿买的风筝？
哦，就在那边不远。
是什么样的钱包？
哦，是个方形的皮钱夹，颜色就和这条裤子差不多。
里边都有什么？
哦，大约200块钱，一张信用卡和一些出租车的发票。
你叫什么名字？
黄仁豪。
你看这个是不是你的？刚才有人送过来了，你把钱包落在卖风筝的柜台上了。
哦，就是这个，谢谢你了啊。
Okay, let's go back over the dialogue part by part now. In today's lesson, Xiaojie and her father are having a little trouble trying to fly a kite. 等一会儿有风的时候再试试吧。Wait a while until there's some wind and then try again. In previous lessons, we learned about this to do something, 再 something else pattern. First do something, then do something else. Xiaojie is surprised at how hard it is. 没想到风筝竟然这么难放。I never thought it would be this hard to fly a kite. 竟然 means unexpectedly. You can omit this and have roughly the same meaning. 没想到风筝这么难放. But adding 竟然 adds emphasis and makes the meaning unexpected much more clearer.
哎，
怎么飞不起来啊？
哎，你放点线，快跑，再放线，对，跑，往这边跑，对。
还是不行。
哎呀，现在啊风太小了，等一会儿有风的时候我们再放吧。
没想到风筝竟然这么难放。
哈，别泄气嘛，一会儿啊我们再试试啊。
小杰 asks, 是不是跑来跑去跑丢了? Did you lose it when you were running around? 跑来跑去 doesn't necessarily mean that you were running, just that you were very busy doing different things in different places. 跑来跑去. The result is 跑丢了, lost something while you were being busy running around. Remember we learned 据说, it is said? Here we see a similar expression. 按理说不会呀. It shouldn't be possible. 按 has a similar meaning to 据, according to. 按理 literally means according to reason.
爸爸，我渴了。
哦，爸给你买水去啊。哎，我钱包呢？
你刚才买风筝的时候还用来着呢。
对呀，我明明记得钱包就放到这个口袋里，可现在怎么没有了？
会不会是我们刚才跑来跑去跑丢了？
哦，有可能。 么你说不会呀？
我们顺去找找吧。
走。
干脆去报案吧。Let's just go and file a report with the police or with the authorities. 案 is a case or investigation. 报案 is to report some problem to the authorities, to start an investigation. 干脆 means clear-cut or simply. In other words, let's not waste any more time here. Let's go right away. This is a useful term, such as in 干脆不要了. Forget about it. I don't want it anymore.
我们干脆去报案吧。把你的手机给我，我来拨911。
小杰啊，在中国呀，不是拨911，应该是拨110。不过现在在公园里，我们呀找保安就行了。
黄仁浩 describes his missing wallet. 一个方的皮钱夹 a square leather billfold. 夹 is to place between two things or to press from both sides. 钱夹 is a billfold, where money is folded between two sides of leather. 颜色和这条裤子差不多. The color is similar to this pair of pants. 条 is the measure word for pants. 和 something 差不多 means roughly similar to something, not exactly the same. If something was just the same, we would say 和 something 一样。
是什么样的钱包？
哦，是个方形的皮钱夹，颜色就和这条裤子差不多。
里边都有什么？
哦，大约200块钱，一张信用卡和一些出租车的发票。
你叫什么名字？
黄仁豪。
你看这个是不是你的？刚才有人送过来了，你把钱包落在卖风筝的柜台上了。
哦，就是这个，谢谢你了啊。
Well, let's take a bit of a tea break and talk about some of the cultural background behind today's dialogue. But rather than talking about the unpleasant business of having lost something, let's focus instead on kites, which were actually invented in China. Even the National Aeronautics and Space Museum in Washington, D.C. claims that the earliest aircraft were the kites of China. Chinese kites date back over 2,000 years. Before the invention of paper, they were originally made with wood and bamboo. Some early kites were used for military purposes and were large enough to carry a man aloft so that he could observe enemy positions. Others were used to send messages. The Chinese word for kite is fengzheng. Zheng is a traditional Chinese musical instrument. In the Tang Dynasty, from the 7th to 10th century AD, people would tie small strips of bamboo that would vibrate and hum in the breeze, sounding something like the zheng. Today, there are over 300 varieties of kites in China. Probably the best place to see them is during the National Kite Festival held every year in Weifang in Shandong Province. Let's take a closer look at some of the language points that we came across in today's dialogue. For example, 竟然, unexpectedly. Here's a sample sentence. 没想到竟然在这儿碰到他. I didn't expect to meet him here. Now, we could say this sentence without the 竟然, and it would mean roughly the same thing. But by adding 竟然, the unexpected nature is emphasized much more. 没想到竟然在这儿碰到他. Here's another sample. 他竟然连这个问题的答案都不知道. He doesn't even know the answer to this question. That's really unexpected. 他竟然连这个问题的答案都不知道。
还是不行。
哎呀，现在风太小了，等一会儿有风的时候我们再放吧。
没想到风筝竟然这么难放。
别泄气嘛，一会儿我们再试试啊。
Now let's take a look at another language point. 干脆, simply, straightforward, clear cut. For example, 那位导游非常干脆地回答了所有的问题. That tour guide answered all of the questions very simply and straightforward. 那位导游非常干脆地回答了所有的问题. Here's another example. 这个问题处理得很干脆. This problem has been solved in a very straightforward manner. 这个问题处理得很干脆. Okay, let's go back to the dialogues now and see how they use these language points.
爸爸，我们干脆去报案吧。把你的手机给我，我来拨911。
小杰啊，在中国呀，不是拨911，应该是拨110。不过现在在公园里，我们呀找保安就行了。
Now let's take a look at some of the language patterns from today's dialogue and do some substitutions. Here's an interesting pattern. Verb 来, verb 去. Now 来 and 去 mean come and go. In this pattern you use the same verb. For example, 跑来跑去, to run around. This pattern indicates that an action is happening over a period of time or repeatedly in a number of places. Here's another sample. 走来走去, to be walking around, to be going all kinds of different places. Let's look at this sample sentence. 我们想来想去，也不知道到底该怎么办. We've been thinking about this all over the place. We've been thinking of all kinds of solutions, but we still don't know what we should do in the end. Okay, let's try some substitutions now with verb 来, verb 去.
我挑来挑去，还是没买到合适的衣服。
我挑来挑去，还是没买到合适的衣服。
我拿着地图看来看去，还是没找到去机场的路。
我拿着地图看来看去，还是没找到去机场的路。
Here's another interesting pattern. 和 something 差不多. 差 means different or differentiate. So 差不多 means not very different. 和 something 差不多 would mean it's quite similar. It's not very different at all. Or we can also say 跟 something 差不多. Here are two samples. 北京的天气和我们那儿的天气差不多. The weather in Beijing and the weather where we are is about the same. How about this sample? 这种水果的味道跟梨的味道差不多. This kind of fruit tastes quite a lot like pears. Okay, let's try some substitutions now with 跟 or 和 something 差不多.
小王的个头和小李差不多。
小王的个头和小李差不多。
北京的物价和上海差不多。
北京的物价和上海差不多。
In today's lesson, we touched on the subject of losing things. Now, we hope that never happens, but of course, when you're busy 跑来跑去, running around, it can be hard to avoid. If you get frustrated, you might just say 甭找了, don't even bother looking for it, just give up. Or you might say 干脆去报案, simply go and file a report with the police. Well, that's all the time we have for today, but we look forward to seeing you back here next time on Travel in Chinese. 再见.